angry guy here. And Filipinos only want men for their money and utility, but most men refuse to believe it. So let's just go ahead and jump right into the topic. Filipinos only want men for their money and utility, but most men refuse to believe it. It's quite unfortunate that a lot of guys don't comprehend this. There's a video by Sunshine Shoulders, Calvin, where he actually talks about this very interesting factor. He says that there's an unspoken agreement between men and women in the Philippines. And a lot of these guys over in the Philippines that go to the Philippines, they're still simps. They're still simps. They start talking about how virtuous the Filipina is, how humble the Filipina is, how she doesn't ask for anything. She won't accept anything from them. She won't accept money from them. And they think that this woman is so wonderful and virtuous and perfect. And these men are completely blind. These men are completely blind. They don't even get it at all. In Western society, the amount of money that you need to buy a house right now is ridiculous. There is no reason why people should be spending $1.5 million, $2 million to buy a house in Brooklyn, New York. No one should be spending $5 million to buy a house in Queens. No one should be spending $50 million to buy a house in Manhattan. Or correction, apartment. Apartment. A house is going to be a whole lot more. Apartment. And even then, a lot of the times people will say that was a steal. The insane amount of money that people need to spend today for real estate in many places is completely disproportionate with the actual value of the property itself. These are properties that our parents bought, 50 years ago for pennies. Back in those days, your first home typically cost 1 year's salary. Did you hear me? Back in my parents' days, back in grandpa and grandma's days, grandma and grandma are my parents. I'm 40 years old. Property cost typically 1 year's salary for a man. 1 year's annual income. This whole 30-year mortgage thing is a brand new scheme. It's essentially it's basically a pyramid scheme. Everything today is a pyramid scheme. It's just dependent on the last idiot that they signed up. All right? It's a scheme. Because our parents, when they bought their first home, it would usually cost 1 year's annual income. When my father bought his house over 20 years ago, in the 1990s, the house cost around $120,000. That house is currently now valued at $700,000 or more. $700,000. A house that he purchased over 20 years ago, but not that long ago, for $120,000, now cost over $700,000. This is not a unique case, guys. This is not a unique case at all. At that time in his life, as far as I knew, my father was making like $60,000 back in 1992. $60,000 working as an armed guard, and he had worked as a police officer. That's how he started out in life, as a cop, and then he started working as an armed guard, and he was making about $60,000 back in 1992. $60K. And I want y'all to really comprehend this, that over 20 years ago, but that's not a long time ago. All right, call it 24 years ago, maybe. You could buy a house with just 2 years income. with 2 years of your income. For that was not even and $60,000 was not even the highest of incomes in 1992. All right, I don't know what he was making by the time he bought the house, but he was making enough. But I'm just giving you an example that back in 1992 he was making $60,000, and my mother also worked, so they were pulling in collectively around $100,000 a year back in those days. And a property was 120,000. Come on. And now that's worth around over 700,000, and very soon it'll be worth $1 million. With this crazy inflation, the $700,000 figure I'm giving you is what it was roughly worth a couple of years ago. So I might be wrong, because from 2020 to now, or 2019, that was like, I'm giving you numbers from like a few years ago. So really, with the inflation, it may be worth, it's probably worth more like 800 and 900 now, or maybe about $1 million. Because I'm usually wrong on these things. I'm usually behind because I'm always giving you conservative estimates. I'll say like, oh, this is going to happen, bro. It's already happened. It's already that bad. But a house might be worth. It was worth 700,000 like a couple of years ago. At this point, or a little over 700,000. At this point, it may be worth $1 million. Guys, that's almost a 10 times increase. That's almost a 10 times increase. Right? And so I share that example with you because I want y'all to understand that what we're spending today for property, for real estate, is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So the money that you earn, that $30,000 in disposable income after taxes, that $50,000 in disposable income after taxes, in a normal economy, you should be able to purchase a property with at minimum 2 to 3 years of your annual salary. And if it was normal, it'd be about 1 year of your annual salary for a starter home. This notion where you can't even find a place to live anymore unless you spend almost all of your disposable income on food and shelter is ridiculous. Is ridiculous. Almost all of your disposable income on shelter and then the remainder on food is ridiculous. Okay? The rest of the world just hasn't caught on to the hyperinflation and insanity that we have in Western society, where people have fallen into this mad cycle of paying for something way more than it's actually worth. Because Western society has now become this machine where you're taxed for everything and it's going to drain you of everything. Do you think that people could ever live the way that they're like? Do you think people from the 1800s and before would ever sign up for something like this? Like, guys, those people owned their homes back then. Sure, they had to pay taxes to the king. But can you imagine, guys, them coming to modern day society and people think that these people are stupid because they're from back then? They would look at us and ask us if we're out of our minds. These people are not stupid. These people had to do math with their hands. They didn't have calculators. They didn't have smartphones. A lot of these people are smarter than the Gen Z idiots walking around today who can barely read or write. These people from 1,000 years ago could read, write, and do arithmetic, right? A lot of these people could use calculus. They would jump forward 1,000 years and think, oh my gosh, how stupid are these people? My goodness gracious. We think we're so intelligent and so bright because of our fancy gadgets? Come on. Come on. When you go to the Philippines and you go over there with that amount of money, and you go and you get yourself a Filipina, there's an unspoken agreement that you pay for everything. And of course, the Filipina, she's not going to tell you that, you're the some of them, because there's a lot of Filipinos are going around telling you that you're a passport kings. And that's another thing, guys. We have to start calling ourselves kings. We have to, shout out to MK Fitness. He's been saying this, and it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. He popped up and he said, "Nah, we need to start saying passport kings." And he's right. The Filipinos have been called. Some Filipinos call us kings, and they're not wrong, guys. A queen without a king is a glorified peasant. There is no domain for a queen to rule over unless it is established by a king. It's because of the welfare state why the resources of men are being taken away and reallocated to bail women out of every bad decision that they make. But have no doubt, we are the kings. When we establish a family, our homes and everything that we own, that is our domain. Our children, our wives, they are subjects within our kingdom. People don't realize that we are kings. That's why some Filipinos even say it. A lot of them don't say it, but you know that. Guys, when you go to the Philippines, as soon as you get off the plane, there is a woman who wants to go straight with you to the hotel. But keep in mind, it's not like American society where you have women that are getting intimate with all these Chads and Tyrones. No, they're not going with you to the hotel because you're a Chad or Tyrone. They're going with you to the hotel because you're the complete and utter opposite. Because they know they need to act fast to secure you. When the average salary in the Philippines, a good salary in the Philippines is $3,600, and you're going over there with $36,000 in disposable income every single year. They know right off the bat that you are rich. And let me make this clear. I've said this once and I'll say this again. $36,000 in disposable income in a country like the Philippines is not much different than $360,000 in the Philippines. You're going to say, you're crazy, Angry. I've explained this already. And this is something that Calvin has talked about over on his channel, Sunshine Shoulders. A $1 cup of coffee is still a $1 cup of coffee. It doesn't matter if you only have $10,000 to your name or $1 million to your name. You should not be spending $100 for a $1 cup of coffee. So when you go to the Philippines, you can, on $1,000 a month, you can live like a king. Anyone who goes to the Philippines and says, "Oh, I'm a millionaire, so I could spend $10,000 a month," then you're wasting your money. And some of y'all don't understand it. When I say you're wasting your money, Bill Gates literally said this once. He said that people don't understand that a steak still tastes the same when you're a billionaire. A steak still tastes the same when you're a billionaire. People don't comprehend it. There will always be opportunists that will tell you that, oh my gosh, this is a wonderful steak and blah, blah. Bro, it's a $5 slab of meat in the Philippines. They'll take that same $5 slab of steak in the Philippines, claim that this place is a 5-star restaurant, and the steak is being prepared by El Diablo Santa Monica Rodriguez. I know, El Diablo, the devil. But I mean, something like that, right? Oh my gosh, El Diablo is here. Es aquí. And it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. You have people like, "Esta es muy rico." No, it's not, bro. It's not. It's not. Y'all are just foolish. Y'all are just foolish. Overpaying for something that is you're paying $100 for a $1 cup of coffee. You're paying $500 for a $5 piece of meat. If a guy goes over there with $360,000 versus a guy with $36,000, the only difference between the guy with $360,000 and the guy with $36,000 is that at the end of the year, the guy with $360,000 will have whatever's left after you minus, let's say, $15,000 in expenses or $10,000 in expenses, versus the guy who has $36,000 in disposable income. All right. So the guy with $360,000 in disposable yearly income will be left with $350,000, and the guy with $36,000 in disposable income will be left with $26,000. Do you guys understand that now? It's still because both of them are still paying the same price for a $1 cup of coffee. It's a $1 cup of coffee. And the Filipinos know that. When you go over to the Philippines, you're paying for everything. You're paying all her bills. You're covering all the utilities. So when she starts saying, oh, no, you don't need to do anything else. You don't need to do this. If your Filipina has a job and you're covering all the bills in the house, then guess what? All the money she makes is her own money, and that's disposable income. And you don't even seem to realize that she's putting that all in the bank. You're covering food, you're covering shelter, you're buying her clothing, you're getting her everything she needs. You may even be helping her family. So every dime that she makes goes into the bank, which is why after you're with her for 5 years, and now she goes and finds a job making $5,000 a year. She put away every dime of that money. She saved every dime of that money, put it into a savings account, earned interest on it, and squirreled away every other dime that she made because you cover everything. So now she has anywhere from $25,000 to even $30,000 sitting in her savings account. So now she's rich in the Philippines. And then on top of that, men from Western society tend to do more than men in other countries. They tend to help with the cooking sometimes. They tend to help with the cleaning sometimes. They'll go shopping with their wives. They'll do a lot of these things. Men in other countries, a lot of them don't do these things. They leave that. That's all. Those are things that are left to the women. All right? Spending time with the children, helping to take care of the children. The men don't do these things. So the woman is getting a ton of utility out of the foreigner. The foreigner tends to be more mature. He knows exactly what he's looking for. He's more respectful. A lot of these guys over there, they act like foolish guys. I know a doctor who once literally told me that she had like a bunch of kids with this guy. And I asked her, like, okay, and is he a doctor too? She said no. I said, okay, so what does he do? So what does he do for a living? Nothing. I am like, okay, what do you mean nothing? He does nothing for a living. What education does he have? He has none. How many kids again do you have with him? I have 5 kids with him. Wait a minute, how old are you? I am 28. What the heck? What the heck? Where is he now? Walking the streets. What? Why would you get in a relationship with someone like this? I don't know. This is modern women for you. This is modern women for you. I'm just pointing it out. Okay? Just pointing it out. They don't actually, the guys that they're actually attracted to, are a lot of times these types of guys. The Filipinas, they want you because they know that you are their best shot at survival. This is why when they say a chick is a chick, all women have that nature. All right? If women in the Philippines didn't need you, they would be running the streets with Chad and Tyrone. Guys, I want to know if you agree with everything I said in this video, that Filipinos only want men for their money and utility, but most men refuse to believe it. I want to hear your thoughts on this. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers.